Hello, everyone. Rob Garcia with Heritage Professional Products. Like to wish everyone a happy holidays, and we are putting together a highlight reel from the Mass Tangent series that we've done over the last year and a half, and we will be broadcasting that at the end of the year to put together kind of some of the ideas we've had, where we started. Originally, it was myself and Drew Guffey. And then Drew stepped aside and we started doing it with Kevin. So, Kevin, do you have anything else you'd like to say?
It's just a quick video to kind of highlight a couple of the cool topics that we discussed this year. And then, like Rob mentioned, where it all started with Drew and Rob. So, I want to thank everybody for watching Mass Tangent over this 2022 season. And we look forward to more videos starting in 2023. So, look for those.
And something that Kevin and I have discussed is that we're going to put up on the Winfield, Heritage now. It's still hard to say. Kevin still got it in his shirt. So we're going to put up on our e-commerce site a page where you'll be able to input what you'd like to learn about as the people that watch our podcast. So if you have an idea of a topic or something that you're interested in, something that's new to our industry and you want to learn more about, put up a comment, and Kevin and I will put together a podcast to discuss that and help to try to give you guys the information that you're looking for.
For sure. Well, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy Festivus. We'll see you in 2023.
See you, everyone.
Hey everybody, this is the new Mass Tangents podcast with myself, Drew Guffey. I am a sales representative and segment leader for the alternative market, and that's primarily what we will be talking about on this episode or series of episodes. This is my esteemed colleague, and I'll let him introduce himself.
Hello, everyone. Rob Garcia, and I am the Western United States Technical Advisor for Winfield United, and I also fulfill the duties of helping to develop nutritional products, both granular, solubles, and liquids for Winfield, and have been assisting Drew, trying to develop a plan and a product portfolio for the alternative market.
Let's talk about the field.
Okay.
What do you think? What can we do? What can't we do in our field before we plan?
Sure.
To make sure we're going to have a better chance of success.
So I think that one of the first things that is really important, especially if the fields have been utilized for other crops, or even if they've been fallow for a large amount of time and we're trying to convert them back to production. Maybe it's an old agriculture facility that they quit farming. These could have been, multiple crops here. It could have been corn, could be wheat. I mean, there's so many things that are growing throughout the state of Colorado.
Conventional, non-conventional.
Non-conventional. Could have been a nursery.
Yeah.
Could have been, a sod farm, for all we know. But one of the things I really think we need to get a good handle on is the quality of our soil and especially the quality of our water. So doing good soil and water analysis this time of the year is going to allow us to put a better program together prior to planting. And then also, how are we going to take care of that crop throughout the growing season? So when we look at soil and water analysis, we have our traditional soil reports. We can run them at the university. We have more sophisticated labs now that we tend to like to use because they can do some other analysis as well. But they're just going to be your general acid extraction soil test. And they're going to tell us our NPK, the pH of our soils, which is important, and then also the micronutrients. And that's what's going to be in our soil. Now,
will these show you if you have existing heavy metals in the soil? Because that's a big point. Of contention.
In certain states more so than others.
Yeah.
And so it will not, but that is easy to do. You will pick up some of them just because, and really talk to who you're working with and let them know that you're concerned about heavy metals. Maybe you're in an area that cadmium or something that could potentially be picked up in the biomass, which would make it not sellable in certain parts of the country from your soils. So if you do have heavy metals, and I worked with a couple of growers outdoor growers in the California area, and they are one of the states that has an issue with heavy metals. And he ran some tests. We were a little high, so we actually looked at what cover crops we could grow prior to putting it into production to get the heavy metals to, and many of our grasses that are common, alfalfa and some of these other legumes.
I've heard in California specifically, I've heard of people, getting rid of some of their, call it junk seed. Talking industrial hemp kind of stuff. Using that as a cover crop, grow it for a couple, few weeks to a couple months. Pull all that out because hemp is notorious for pulling that stuff out of the soil, and then you just chop it and get rid of it. You don't want to put added inputs in, so you just let it do its thing, give it some water, whatever.
Understand that in a lot of areas we have very, very heavy clay soils. So when we water, the water tends to like to sit on the top. It's a very tight pore space. Doesn't want to move down into the soil. So the utilization of these types of products will help us move the water down. Now, in my part of the country especially, we're under water restrictions. So most of the people throughout the metro area along the Front Range of Colorado, they can only really water 2 to 3 times per week. So we're having multiple 90-degree days. So when we water, they're also restricted on when they can water. So we have to be able to get what water we are allowed to put out down into the soil. And then, like Kevin mentioned, with the retention products, if we're in a part of the country that has very sandy soils, and we have bands of that throughout the entire United States, we want to be able to hold the water, because when we water, the water penetrates into soil more easily than the clay soils, but we want to hold it there in the root zone so that the plant can take the water in and be able to utilize our irrigation cycles. We also want to look at methods of application. Now, we have many types of products here at Winfield PPG. We have products that you're able to put down as a liquid application. So essentially we spray them onto the soil, water them in, they stay in the soil for a given amount of time. We also have methods of application where we can utilize these little wetting agent pellets. So you hook it to a hose end applicator, put the pellet into it, and you can treat the areas throughout your yard. So a nice, easy way to put it down. We are also starting to work with and carry some granular type products. I think this is a great way for people to put down wetting agents at their home turf. They're easy to apply. People are more used to utilizing granulars. So that's something that we can use to help us with our applications. You'll be able to go out, look around your yard. You see the areas that we have stress. We can go out, we can apply the granular, we can utilize the chemistry, water it in, and get the same types of results that we would with a liquid application. The next thing that we want to talk about is fertilization. And
hold on, Rob. I want to get back because you were talking about the wetting agent, and that's can be very useful for somebody that doesn't have irrigation like myself. Sure. Somebody that maybe doesn't have the capabilities to go out and hand water or doesn't have a sprinkler or a sprinkler system, the wetting agents can be very useful because you go out and you spread it or you spray it with the liquid applications. And when you do get that rainfall, it soaks in and can be, utilized for the next month or so. So if you don't have an irrigation system, probably should look into some type of wetting agent product to utilize on your yard.
Now, would you consider that more like a preventative application then, Kevin, planning ahead because you don't have water, you don't have an irrigation system, you might have a period where you're having some dry, consistent weather's forecast, so you can preventatively go out so that when you do get either rainfall or hand water, manually water your turf, you're able to get good performance out of that and usage out of that water cycle.
Yeah, 100%. You got to be preventative. And a good way to think about it too is with cool season turf, we have the growth cycle that kind of looks like a camel. So spring, you get that shoot growth, and you also get the root growth at the bottom that kind of mirrors it. in the summer, when it gets really hot, your roots are going to shrink and your shoot growth isn't going to be as much. So you really want to be preventative and proactive with your wetting agent management, getting those roots built down into the soil as far as you can, so that when you do come into those warm summer months, you've got that root system built that can go and look for water in deeper parts of the soil.
And that's a great point, Kevin, because that kind of leads into our next topic, and the topic of to fertilize or not fertilize. And you mentioned the cycle for cool season turf grass, where we have a good growth activity in the spring. We have that low point. We have some root mass loss because of the heat. I've seen some numbers where anytime it gets into the 90s, we actually start to lose root mass. And remember, we're dealing with all kinds of different heights of cut. So if we're in shorter heights of cut, then we're going to lose more root mass because we actually have less. So a lot of people ask about, what should I be doing in the summer? Should I be fertilizing? And really, it's a good time to back off and utilize. If you want to fertilize, utilize some organics, something that's really slow to break down, help with the soil structure. Organics also do help naturally hold more water in the root zone. So that's a good time to put them down. But I always do recommend people fertilizing, if they want to fertilize in summer, stay away from quick release nitrogen. I mean, when you put quick release down, as you said, the plant's at a low point. It's not utilizing the nitrogen and the other nutrients that we're putting down. So putting them down in a form that they're not going to be volatilized, they're not going to be leached away, that's a good time to use slow release and especially organic-based products to fertilize.
Is there specific organic products that you recommend, Rob?
I like to, this time of the year, I like to utilize the poultry waste products are great. The sustain type products, biosolids are very popular and very easy to come by throughout the United States. Also, it's a good time of the year if you do have liquid application capability, or find a good granular source. Humates are another thing to put down. They're a naturally occurring compound. They come from leonardite shale. They have a lot of ability and a lot of bonding sites on the molecule to be able to hold on to more water. So any of these carbon-based organic sources are going to be good to help with your soil structure. If you have sandy soil, they're going to help you have more ability to hold water. I mean, you look at what's in, say, a sand greens mix. It's sand and an organic source to help hold on to some water. So we can do that in our home lawns if we're dealing with a sandy soil.
Last on the list, I guess, of things to discuss is some weed control. So that's also a very important part of a fall program for your lawn.
Absolutely. Absolutely. One of the things that we have to realize in many of especially our perennial weeds, where we had a big spring crop of dandelions and they came up and they all went to seed. So we have all that seed available. As we start to cool down, they germinate and they start to grow just like our turf grass starts to recover from the hot time of the year. So what they'll do is you'll have those weeds, they'll be down in the canopy. You won't see them because, again, the yellow flower from the dandelions, what sets off the customer, sets off the homeowner. I have weeds all over. Well, you have them in the fall too. So it's a prime time to be able to make applications. They're smaller, they're less established, they have a weaker root system, and the herbicides will be more effective. And you can usually use a lower rate to control these weeds at this time of the year. So it's an ideal time. And when you look at those properties where you're like, everybody's got dandelions coming up in the spring, they're all yellow and everybody's trying to get out and they're making calls to their applicators or trying to do their own applications to control the weeds. You'll see those properties that have no weeds. That's usually what they did. They did a good fall application. Another thing that I wanted to mention is that at these fall applications, we can also add a pre-emergent into the tank. The post-emergent and the pre-emergent can be applied together. So you can kill two birds with one stone and be able to have good pre-emergent weed control. Prodiamine, all your barricade formulations, gallery, these products are designed so that they can be applied in the fall and still effective the next spring as the soil temperatures come up. So there's actually the labels will talk about how much material to apply to give you given X number of months. So we can adjust the rates and do these in the fall So we're going out to control our post-emergent. We can throw our pre-emergent in. So in the spring, when it's sometimes if you're getting bad weather, whatever the cause is, that it's hard to make the applications in the spring, we can make them in the fall when it's a little bit easier and get a good pre and post-emergent weed control.
Yeah, that's great. And I think a lot of people lose sight of that because lawn care companies are going out. It's a springtime. We're going to do a pre-emerge. But a lot of times they're doing that because if they did it in the fall, they might not have the customer sign up in the spring.
Exactly. That's a tough one when you're on the commercial side. That's hard for people at the time. You don't want to, you give all that extra applications and material in the fall, and then you don't have the customer. But your homeowners, they need to understand that would be the best way to do it. One of the products that you've had some success with, Kevin, is Defender. Do you want to explain just a little bit of what it is, its timing, and obviously its number one weed that it controls, dandelions?
Yeah, dandelions for sure. It'll do some clover too. We've seen that, being controlled pretty well over the years in some studies. But Corteva has Defender. It's a great product for dandelion control. One of the timing issues is you have to hit it before the plant flowers. Yep. So you're really not going to get any control if you wait too long in the spring. And that's where a lot of the lawn care companies have issues. Is there's so many lawns they got to hit. They can't get to all of them with the Defender. Right. But you can use a fall application with Defender as well. And so like Rob was discussing earlier, you're going to have those plants down in the canopy. If you can get this Defender out, you got to look at the label and make sure you do it when it's cool at the right time of the year. So we're getting into that maybe mid to late September, early October in certain parts of the country.
Yep.
It's going to do a great job, and you're not going to have those dandelions popping up like everybody else on your block.
And we could also, just like I mentioned with our other post-emergent products, we could combine it with our pre-emergents and make one application and not have to make multiple applications.
One of the benefits of Defender, it's a non-2,4-D product.
Right,
so
sure.
A lot of states have restrictions. You can only do so many broadcast applications with 2,4-D. It's a little bit different with the spot applications or spot treatments, but non-2,4-D products like Defender are going to become more and more popular. And I'm kind of surprised that it hasn't taken off already just because of how effective it can be on dandelions specifically. And that's like the number one weed for homeowners.
Right. So no, that's some great information. So essentially, if we look at kind of what we've talked about today, aeration, overseeding, fertilization, and weed control are all activities that can be done in the months of September and October throughout most of the United States, and what is going to pay off dividends for the next season.
Let's talk about personal experiences with dyes and colorants. I really didn't know about dyes and colorants in turf grass until I started with Winfield back in 2012. They were formulating some new dyes, and they wanted to see how it looked and if they stained your clothing or your skin and how you wash it off. So there's a picture of me dipping my fingers in some blue dye and showing that one of them came off pretty good with some soap and water, and the other one kept my finger blue for a while. And then also we were formulating some new lake dyes. So that was really my first introduction to dyes and colorants on turf. Rob, how about you?
So, I was introduced long ago. I was working as a landscape manager in Colorado Springs. We were taking care of the Olympic Training Center, and my boss called me and he's like, is there a way we had a zone go down? So we had an area that was completely stressed out. They had a bunch of bigwigs in for the Olympic committee. And he's like, can we paint that area green? And I'm like, what? You want me to do what? So I checked into it, and that was early 90s. And the only thing I could really find at that time was green longer. So I ordered some in from our supplier at the time, UHS. And I basically mixed up a tank, turned my whole tank green, which, was another story. But I was able to somewhat mask the area that had been caused to go into dormancy due to the irrigation being off. So after that, then really there wasn't much exposure. Periodically I'd run into people asking for that type of application, areas that had issues close to the clubhouse, etc. Then when I started to look at snow mold, it was maybe 15 years ago now, when Civitas came out, and a portion of Civitas is called the Harmonizer, and it's a pigment with a surfactant. So that was really when I got exposed to us. I think the biggest thing that I noticed was when you made those applications for snow mold, because of the pigment, it was bright green going into dormancy in the fall, and very evident on the golf course. Obviously, everywhere you sprayed, it was bright green. And then what we saw after that is those areas where we had utilized the pigment, they would come out of dormancy much quicker and much healthier. So we really started to look at pigments for our snow mold applications out in the Western United States.
TJ, what about you?
So for me, I think the first time I was introduced to it, and like you mentioned 2012, I think that was about it for me as well, as I was a superintendent on a golf course here in Southwest Florida. And I really can't remember how I was introduced to it or why I tried it or what the reasoning was. But I remember from that point on, once I tried it, I used it ever since as a superintendent, primarily tees, fairways, a little bit on the greens, some in the rough, areas that were stressed out, areas we're trying to get to recover. But it primarily was used, I would say, in my region, October through April, when the Bermuda grass, we don't go completely dormant here. We actually don't even go a little bit dormant, maybe a little bit. Grass slows down, or you're not mowing as much, but you still, and that's the peak of the golf season down here. So, that's when we're doing the majority of our rounds. So to keep things looking good, keep a little bit of, help with the temperature, the surface temperature of the turf and that, make it a little bit darker. And it's really become standard practice nowadays down here that, and there are some people that spray it year round. Some people love the way it looks. They feel like it helps the turf perform better. But primarily, I would say October through April in our region is pretty much everyone is on board with it now.
Gotcha. I'm going to touch a little bit on the history that I found in my research over the last few days. And this doesn't go super in depth, but just to kind of give a general overview of the history of pigments on turf. What I was able to find is that really before the 1990s, there wasn't a whole lot of use of pigment or colorants on turf. And when they were being used, it was for aesthetic purposes. So there wasn't any health benefit to the plant being noted. It was simply just probably like for sports on TV, national broadcasts of big football games, college and NFL. Hey, we need to make the field look better. Let's put some green paint on it. So then in the 90s, NC State did some work looking at Mancozeb and Alliette and, trying to figure out summer bent grass decline. This is actually making it work a little bit better, and the turf looks healthier after we make these applications. So that's when they started introducing pigments into other products, other fungicides, and they started to see some plant health benefits, especially with some of the stress products.
The next part we were going to talk about is some of our other surfactants, which fit more into your traditional idea of surfactants. One of the things that I've really felt, and this is part of our long-term exposure with the Winfield United on the agriculture side, are products for drift and our non-ionic surfactants. Droplex Extra is a combination of our Gulfstream and our Droplex. Jet Shield, as we've gotten into the market where more and more people are asking for more environmentally safe products. Jet Shield is an organosilica product that is OMRI certified, so it can be used in your organic applications. Our traditional air cover, which is a premium organosilica product, great for spreading out material, helping it dry faster on the plant. And then also a combination of an organosilica and also MSO, which is a little bit unique. Many of our newer products, Tribute, Total, Celsius, Drive XLR, which is a quinclorac product for grassy weed control, they actually ask for MSO type products. And Turbulence gives you that MSO that the manufacturer is looking for, but also gives it to you in a form that's a little bit less phytotoxic than some of your traditional MSO-based products. So I really think that when you look at our portfolio for herbicide and other insecticide and fungicide applications, we have a little bit of a unique offering because we've combined products together. We've combined 2 products in Turbulence. We've combined 2 products in Droplex Extra. You'll see that Gulfstream Free is our first product without NPE, nonylphenol ethoxylate. We also see regulations being put forth for APE. And Kevin, APE?
Alkyl phenol ethoxylates.
So we have two different groups that are very common in surfactants that different regulatory agencies throughout the United States, mainly on the East Coast and now on the West Coast the most. These are additives that are in common surfactants that have aquatic fish toxicity and aquatic invertebrate toxicity. So they're starting to be pulled out. We're on the cutting edge really with developing these products and taking these out of our formulations to make them more safe for the applicators and for the environment. So really here at Heritage PPG, I feel that we're developing products at the cutting edge for this type of application.
So developing products on the cutting edge going forward, but also these products have been trialed and tested in lab settings and field settings all over the nation on many different types of plant materials and situations. So these are products that we trust, our sales team trusts, and the customers that use them also trust them. So we get a lot of return business with these products.
And I think a good point you made there, Kevin, is that we did a lot of our own studies at the research facility for Winfield United in River Falls, Wisconsin. We had the unique ability to utilize a wind tunnel to test our Droplex and Droplex extra formulations and how they're being affected, how they increase deposition, how they increase spray performance. And then also working with Dr. Brosnan, we've done a lot of studies with at the University of Tennessee and really looked at what happens when you add these products to your spray solution and how it increases your performance, how it increases rain fastness, how it gives you better overall control. And in many of the studies that we've done, we see a 20+% increase in control. So we're giving our customers maximum weed control in their applications.
Definitely. That's with one of our other products, which we don't have like a slide for necessarily, but because we only have one herbicide, which would be Strike 3, but it does really well, especially when paired with some of those adjuvants.
And really, I mean, you look at your common herbicides on the market. Strike 3 is a 2,4-D mecaprop dicamba formulation. Really, when you look at lawn care and golf post-emergent herbicides, there's really about a dozen active ingredients that get mixed together in various combinations to give the weed control. But all of these products, their performance will be enhanced by the utilization of Gulfstream or Droplex Extra or Droplex in your spray solution.